Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Anding, and I'm the Librarian and Site Technology Facilitator at Glen Oaks Magnet High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We serve 6th through 12th graders at our school. And this video is being made for City Year. I know City Year is at several of our elementary and middle schools across the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. And I was asked to do a series about technology to help prepare our different groups out there in EBR to assist our teachers. First of all, I just want to say thank you. The assistance that you give our schools and our teachers, I can't even describe how grateful we are for it. I've already felt the 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 aid from the ones at our school, and I truly appreciate it. So I'm very excited to give these presentations. This one will probably go about 45 minutes. I will not cover everything related to tech troubleshooting, but I'll at least start, and we'll go from there. I'm moving into a. Ooh, my volume is very loud in my headphones this morning. I will put this into our my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Erin Anding, Erin, Anding, Anding, and it'll be under a playlist for City Year. So without further ado, I am going to start presenting. So like I said, my name is Erin Anding. This is the Tech Troubleshooting for Fall 2020. Our objectives today, the learner will discuss how to think through tech issues and learn how to solve common tech issues with Wi-Fi desktops and Chromebooks. We've always had tech has always been a very, very big part of life at schools, um, the good and the bad of the tech. But now that we are having to have kids in virtual, hybrid, things of that nature, it's becoming even a bigger situation. And one of my biggest jobs on campus is to help students and teachers and now parents with technology. One of the biggest things I can say to you is if you do not know who your site technology facilitator is on campus, please find out. In most situations that I can think of, it's the librarian. It does not have to be, but it is librarian. And in theory, there's also supposed to be a backup site technology facilitator in most situations. So find out who that person is as well. Give you a little bit of background about myself in case you need to contact me. I am the librarian at Glen Oaks Magnet High School. I am the site technology facilitator. I am a Google One certified educator, a Google Two certified educator, and as of June 2020, a Google for Education certified trainer, which means that I am actually supposed to give presentations such as this in relationship specifically to Google, but other tech as needed. So I'm very excited to do that. And when I say discuss how to think through tech issues, one of the first things I think everybody needs to be aware of is how to think through tech. And really, it's how a librarian is trained to think. So the first slide I'm going to show you it's going to seem like it has nothing to do with technology, but it totally does. And that is something called the reference interview. So I do have a Master's of Library and Information Science from LSU. If anybody's interested in doing it, it's a fantastic career. One of the things they teach you in school is actually a huge unit in a couple of the courses is something called the reference interview. And the reference interview is that moment where a patron comes to a librarian and describes their information need. And I remember one of my professors told me that it is one of the most difficult conversations to have. Okay, I mean, there's lots of conversations that are difficult to have. But the reference interview, by its very nature, is a difficult conversation to have. Because if your patron, if the person who's coming to ask you something as a librarian knew the answer, they wouldn't be coming to you. Okay? They have an information need, but a large amount of time, they don't actually know what the need is. Okay? Teachers have a similar situation. The student says, I don't understand. And, it's our job, or they say, I think it's this part I don't understand. And the teacher has to figure out how. I have a extremely newfound appreciation for call center people at this point when it comes to technology because I'm having to do so much of it by phone. And so I have to have this difficult conversation where a person doesn't know what necessarily is going on, and then I have to do it by phone. I can't even see what's going on. It's been very interesting. I have a very, very newfound respect for people who work in call centers. So, in the reference interview, there are some ways to handle the situation to get to the root of the problem. And we are always told to, first of all, be approachable. If people don't think they can come to you, they're not going to ask. If you guys are working, whether in the library or you're working in a classroom, things of that nature, of course, if a student or a parent or a teacher doesn't think someone is approachable, they will not approach them. It's just easier to ignore. So, first thing is obviously be approachable. Listen. They're probably going to start to say things that are lead you down the idea of what's really going on, but listening and letting them speak in their own words. Okay, this is my problem. It very well may not be the actual problem, but it's where they understand the problem being. You have to listen. There's probably going to be clues along the way that help you figure out what's really going on. And when listening doesn't quite get you there, asking open ended questions and clarifying questions. I would never say you can't ask a yes no in this situation because you'll eventually get yourself to the point where a yes no might be the thing you need to finally clarify. I guess that would fall under a clarifying question. But asking open ended questions, getting them to give you more information. Okay. Um, and always remember follow up. This goes back to the approachable thing. In the end, saying, please let me know if this worked for you or did not work for you. Please come back with any other situations. I'll be happy to see you again. Kids remember that. They really do. Adults remember that. And here's what I mean about they don't know what they're saying. I'll give an example of one of the ones I've been getting in the last week or two. Never even thought about it. But I get a lot of people bringing in their Chromebooks, and usually what they'll tell me is the Chromebook doesn't work. The conversation usually starts with hi, and I say, can I ask what's going on? My Chromebook doesn't work. Okay, Chromebooks are only part of the situation. They might not work. There are times when I turn it on and it's a dead dark screen. That is the Chromebook. But it's only a bit of it. So in the last week, last week or two, I've had multiple where it starts off as my Chromebook's not working. Eventually, as I listen and I pay more attention, they can get into the Chromebook. The Chromebook is functioning. Their password, their username and password is correct. Um, Sometimes they say my Chromebook doesn't work, but it's the fact that they don't actually have the Google Classroom for some reason that they need to get into. A lot of situations they can get into the Google Classroom. Then, our school says it's the best practice that we turn the Google Meet in the Google Classroom off. So, when the teacher is not live, um, is not appropriate for the students to be able to get into the Google Meet and have a place where they're conversing without on school digital technology without supervision. So we are told to turn our Google Meets off until it's time to open. So in maybe 3 or 4 situations in the last week or two, what I have discovered, it's not that the Chromebook's not working. It's not even that the Wi-Fi or the software is not working. What's not working is the student doesn't know how to read a middle or high school schedule. And so rather than saying, okay, it is, 9 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, I go into class period 2. And in theory, if everything is working the way it should, the teacher is going to open up that Google Meet and they get in. They're not logging in. They're not even going into the Google Classroom. They're kind of like waiting for something to magically happen. And they don't know that they're supposed to be going into class period 2 because it's 9 o'clock at our school. What their real problem is they don't know how to read a class schedule, or they don't know their schedule well enough to know where they're supposed to go. Now, in the physical world, eventually this child's just going to be left standing in the hallway of a middle or a high school, and we're going to figure it out. Or they're going to walk into a classroom and the teacher's going to take the role and they're going to say, this is not your room. But in the digital world, they have to physically go into the right classroom at the right time. And if not, it's kind of like they're standing in digital no man's land. Okay. No, something's not working. It's that they don't actually know how to read their schedule. And so when I find their schedule and I make sure it's right, and we realize we're supposed to be in class period 2, and we go in, lo and behold, the Google Classroom the Meet in the classroom is open. So where we started from in this interview is completely different from where we ended up. The original thing was my Chromebook doesn't work. And if I don't take that 5-10 minutes to figure out what's going on, first of all, I might have just exchanged a Chromebook for no reason. which then has to go into quarantine and then has to go in all sorts of other stuff. I actually still didn't solve the problem because when they go home, if they don't know how to read their schedule and know which Google Classroom they're supposed to be going into, a different Chromebook doesn't fix that problem. Okay. Um, a lot of you are going into classrooms or maybe a group like guidance or library science, library services as support and for help. The biggest thing I can tell you is that whatever the discipline of who you're helping would call it, doing this reference interview of being approachable, listening, from the listening, asking open-ended questions and clarifying questions, and then remembering to follow up will probably help you zero in on the real issue. So in this case, that issue was not the Chromebook. It was the ability to read a schedule and then know how to function in with the Google Meet and the Google Classroom. Totally different ending. Second thing I need you to think about. Everybody thinks I'm a great tech person. I've gotten there out of necessity, and that's my job. But, 7, 8 years ago, I was not a techie person. And I'll be honest, at my house, when it's not something I've been trained on, I'm still not a techie person, which is funny. At school, though, I'm a techie person. How did I become one? Studying and, going to PDs and stuff like that. But when it came to fixing the hardware and working with the hardware, the way I really became was I had one great IT person who would come and I would put in an IT work order. And she'd look at me and she knew I hated the idea that I made her come across campus for something I could have fixed. And I'd say, "Could I have fixed it?" She goes, "Yes." I said, "Can you show me how so I don't do this again?" She'd say, "Yes." What she taught me was, computer science is computer science, and we have to treat it in that respect. So the other thing I need you to think about when it comes to helping someone when it comes to technology issues is just like in science. The scientific method says we test one variable. Okay. Y'all have to work in the process of elimination. Just like I said, in that reference interview, we're going to start with the idea it was the Chromebook, but it ended up being something else. In that reference interview, I was mentally checking off, okay, it's not Wi-Fi, it's not this, it's not that. But sometimes I actually have to physically start doing the process of elimination. So an example I can give for everybody, if you're at elementary or middle, is a desktop. And this is one of the ones she taught me, this IT person from years ago. So an example, I get this on desktops a lot. Teachers don't tend to know it. When a Chromebook or a desktop give you a error message, you need to pay attention to the error message. I don't want to hear it doesn't work. I want to hear what did the computer tell me? Because this phrase here, which often shows up when people try and log into a desktop, means something. So the phrase, "There are no logon servers available to service this request." And I tell the teacher, they say, I couldn't log in. The desktop didn't work. I couldn't log in. And I said, "What did the computer tell you?" "I don't know. It wouldn't let me in." I said, "Can you go back and do it again? Or can you get on this desktop? Let me see." Often that's not the case. That one won't work because this thing is computer specific at the time. But I eventually have to get them to tell me, "Okay, I wrote it down." They bring me back a piece of paper and it says, "There are no logon servers available to service this request." What this one means is they cannot attach themselves. The computer cannot get itself um, to our, what I call the tree, our server. Okay. For some reason, it cannot connect itself to the EBR system where their desktop will come up with all of their information. I was taught that this could be one of three things. So, once again, I want to say it's automatically the computer, but I actually have to check three things. It could be the jack. So the blue Ethernet cable that goes into the jack could be messed up. Okay. And sometimes when you actually look at it, when it's plugged into the outlet for the, cables, there might be 3 or 4 little squares open. It might be that all of them don't work. It might be that one of them doesn't work. So I have to try with the computer, the situation that's up, and I might start with the jacks. So I have to take it out, put it into another jack. By the way, I have to turn the computer off and let it restart. Never just do it and think that's going to work. It actually has to go through the process of restarting. So then I have to turn the computer off, let it restart. If it works now, and the only thing I've changed is that one jack, now I know I need a work order. That's the work order is because we have one jack, the little square, that does not function. Let's say all of those little jacks I tried, and by the way, every jack I try, I have to turn the computer off and let it attempt to go through the process again and try. I find out it's not the jack. I'm still getting the error message. Next problem is it could be the blue cable. The blue cable itself might not be working. Oh, I'm saying check the computer, check the Ethernet cable. But look here, I have to try the jack. I have to try changing out the cable. So in this case, now the jack needs to remain the same. I need to get a new Ethernet cable. So you're going to have to either have some spares in the classroom or ask where can we try and get a different one, like a testable one. And then it could be the computer. Some computers only have the ability to put the cable in one port, but some have two. Now, most likely, if I check the jack and I isolate and I say, okay, this is the only variable I've changed, it's still not. It's going to be one of these. It's usually not all three. When I adjust, I then actually find, oh, wait a minute. Okay, it was the Ethernet cable. We're going to have to throw this Ethernet cable away. It's no good anymore. Here's a new one. Everything works great. They can log in. I realize it's one jack. That's a specific type of work order. I realize by putting into the, maybe one or two different ports on the computer, it's the computer. Okay. And then a work order might need to be put in for that. Work orders don't work well when you say my computer doesn't work. I'm not saying that you won't get a reply, but being able to say jack number 1 in room such and such appears not to be working, you get a much faster help desk ticket and it's much more pinpointed because they know what's going on. By the way, when working with desktops and you've got an error message, remember to restart the computer every time you test for a variable in the process of elimination. You need to let it attempt to do what it needs to do. If not, it actually doesn't change anything. It's already done it's failed to do what's attempted to do. So remember to restart the computer each time. So notice, reference interview, and in that reference interview, I had to clarify, what's wrong with my desktop doesn't work. Well, what's wrong with it? I don't know. I get a blue screen. Clarifying question. What is that message? Oh, the message is there are no logon servers available to service this request. Okay, I know what that means now. It means that we cannot connect to the server somehow. So let's start that process of elimination. Let's check each jack. Let's check the computer. Let's check the Ethernet cable. Okay, remember to restart the computer each time. You'll probably find the answer. Okay? If you can think like this, you're starting to get in the tech world. Okay? Because quality tech experience, there's probably even more to it, but in my mind, a quality tech experience right now is stable internet connection. Okay, that could be the issue, the internet. It could be a whole host of situations with the apps, the extensions, and the software. It could be the hardware. It could be the tech comfort level of the child, the person supporting the child, like a parent, or the teacher. Okay, think about what has gone on in the last 6 months. We have asked people to completely change the way they teach. We have asked people to completely change the way they learn. Tech was a part, but it wasn't all. And in the last whatever, it seems to be almost the all. The world has watched their bandwidth get used exponentially more. Everybody went home and went online to either watch Hulu and Netflix or to conference call or to start learning. The infrastructure there isn't working. Upgrades need to be made from the software companies. And I'll be honest with you, in most situations, when someone has a problem, they're going to go, it's my Chromebook. But it might be the internet. It might be any one of the softwares. It could be the hardware. It could be their tech comfort level. I hate to say it, a user error. All of these can get in the way of a quality tech experience. And when they come to ask you for help, you have to be calm, approachable, and be able to start narrowing down. Okay, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Will you maybe have the answer? No. Can you zero them in? That would be very helpful. For a child probably needs this is what's going on. But I've had some adults say, I really appreciate it. You at least helped me figure out that it was either A or B. You couldn't give me an answer, but at least I had some place to go. Okay. So we're going to talk about a couple of these in the next few minutes, looking at my time. We're not going to finish them. We'll have to do a troubleshooting tech part 2, possibly even a part 3. But for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about where are some of the resources you can get. and then go through 1 or 2 of those. These are some of the places you can get resources. Okay, so down here is my YouTube channel, Erin Anding. It's a tech support YouTube channel with a little bit of library stuff. Um, it was made originally for my faculty and for my students, but it can be used by anybody. A lot of the videos that I make, like this video, will be housed on a playlist for City Year. Google took away our ability in education, Google for Education platforms. As a teacher, you don't get to make a fancy. I used to be like the Glen Oaks Magnet, library. Now it's just name. So you search ERIN Anding, and if I make a video, I post it there. Okay, that is support from me. Support from the district. EBR.technology. As we moved into the virtual pandemic learning, this became the hub. They built this website up. This is the hub for tech support from the district. Okay. Later on, when we get into specific hardwares, I'll show you some of their sites that you can look at. But this is the main hub for district tech support. Big places that you should be paying attention and kind of examining are the helpful resources and the idea of submitting an IT help desk ticket. We had to go to a new IT help desk ticket this fall. In the old help desk ticket, only teachers and staff could put in help desk tickets. The system they went to now allows a parent to put one in on behalf of a student. So if there is an issue with tech at home. Now, I don't know how it's going on at your school. What I'm realizing is my parents are not necessarily waiting for a help desk ticket when the only device they have is the Chromebook and the Chromebook's not working. My parents are maybe putting in a help desk ticket, but they're driving them straight up to me and going, here, fix it. Sometimes they're up there by the end of the class period. But they can submit an ID help desk ticket, so we had to go to a new one. So we're going to look at it for just a minute. It's EBR.technology. This is a great one to bookmark for the staff that you're assisting, for yourself. So technology resources for EBR families. This one here, looking for a community hotspot. Tech resources for EBR families. Couple things down here. If your teacher, the person you're assisting, is having issues with their password, they go to the PASS system. One link to the EBR email. Faculty uses Microsoft Office 365 for our email, and it's also how we have Microsoft. I'll go into that in another troubleshooting. This is where you officially, as a district, a student's family can request a hotspot, technically a Chromebook, but that should really be coming from their school unless there's a big shortage, to put themselves on for a hotspot. The thing I can't tell you is, when do you get a hotspot? Are they still giving out hotspots? That I can't speak to, but this is technically the official way to request. This thing here is a big deal. I'll go into it again, but looking for a community hotspot. People who are having issues with community hotspots, with hotspots, or lack thereof Wi-Fi. The district, at a lot of the school parking lots, mine is one of them, Glen Oaks High is one of them, created parking lot hotspots, community hotspots. And this is the information about how to connect to them. So if you want to sit in your car, not everybody wants to do that, but it is an option, especially if you just lose Wi-Fi momentarily and you live nearby a school. Many of the park systems, the Breck Park systems, also have the ability to connect to their Wi-Fi for free. The public library parking lots have done the same thing. So if somebody wants to sit in their car, or maybe at a park at a bench, there is a possibility. Also, things like McDonald's Wi-Fi. McDonald's may not be open, but they might be able to sit in a parking lot. Are these the ultimate solutions? No. But are they solutions for a family that, either can't get a hotspot or can't afford something, things of that nature? Yes, it is a backup. It's a great backup if you just happen to lose Wi-Fi because, there was a storm and it went down in your neighborhood for a day or two. So, find your closest community hotspot. At least giving this in as, there's me, Glen Oaks Magnet High School, Northeast High, Scotlandville, Brookstown Middle. I think some of our city year people are there. I think some of y'all are at Claiborne. I think Claiborne is one of them. Claiborne Elementary. Okay. Parking lot. They connect with the password of education. Something to consider. Going up here, This is how a teacher or a faculty member or a parent can submit an IT help desk ticket. Okay. Helpful resources, staff helpful resources, student family helpful resources, more about community hotspots, troubleshooting tips. So I'm giving a PD about that. These are troubleshooting tips for Chromebook troubleshooting. If you're having issues at your school with the phone, video conference troubleshooting. Okay. If they're in Office 365, email troubleshooting, might be for staff or for students. Student family helpful resources if you're working, specifically with kids and they're using their Chromebook at home. How to submit an IT help desk ticket um, for my high schoolers, diplomas and stuff. I'll be talking about this later on how to update a Chromebook. Okay. Um, very, very good website to start looking at if you're going to be a support for, students and faculty. Getting to be very aware of what's going on this website would be very helpful. Okay. Um, my YouTube channel, like I said, there I am. Please subscribe to me, make me famous. I will be creating a playlist for y'all when this is finished. Okay. So the first one I said in that, overall, healthy functioning technology equation is stable internet connection. This has actually been probably in all respects one of the biggest issues going on. You are working in a district that has a high population of people who do not have Wi-Fi in their house or internet. Many of them are working off their parents' cell phone data plans. Even if they do have stable Wi-Fi, they might have 7 kids in the house who are all trying to get on it at the same time. Well, it can only be divided so many ways, and then when you include the phones and stuff, this is one of the biggest issues. It's been one of the biggest hurdles that any district has had to try and overcome in this situation. I mean, even me, I've been at home doing, Google Meets with only 3 students, and it's me in my house by myself when I was sick a few weeks ago, and I'm the one getting cut off. Um, Internet connection has been a big deal. Like I said, one of the biggest issues. Um, on campus, remember the earlier example of the logging in on a desktop, a district desktop. You're not going to get to all the stuff if you don't connect to the server, uh, which is your internet. It's not Wi-Fi. It's a hardline internet cable, and if you can't get in, so remember that there's no logon servers available to service this request. You can't connect. You can't get to the internet if you're seeing that phrase or some other certain phrases, but that's an example. So maybe the cable is wrong. Maybe the jack is wrong. Maybe the computer's wrong. But there you go. That's on a desktop on campus. On campus, Wi-Fi. So one of the issues we've run into is a lot of people not understanding the differences in the Wi-Fi. I went on maternity leave with my third child in fall of 2018, and when I left Glen Oaks, we only had one Wi-Fi. When I came back, I tried to log up my Chromebook in, and I looked around and said, "What happened? What is this, and why can't I get in?" While I had been gone, they had updated it into different groups. So there are 4 on campus. Your school probably has 3 or 4 of these as well. Each one is a different situation. So on campus, Chromebooks should automatically connect to the one called Chrome. At least in our school, it's actually typed as Chroma. So I think that's a typo. But that's the one the Chromebooks automatically connect to. That is the only one that student accounts can get onto. Okay. Staff, that is for EBR staff to get into. Students cannot get onto that one unless they figure it out, and then I got to fix some things. But that is for staff only. Okay. Guest. A lot of people think I can give guest out to, a 1-day person. Guest is where I showed you to put in a help desk ticket, um, teachers put in their own help desk tickets for their room and for their supplies. Let me just see. I just want to make sure I'm still recording. Something had gone on in so I was just looking real quick. Thought I heard something. The Going back real quick, help desk tickets get put in. I, as site technology facilitator, could put in something like a campus-wide one or common spaces like the library. But a desktop in a teacher's classroom, they have to put that in themselves. I cannot put that in. So some teachers think that site technology can put in any of them. If I put in one for a teacher's room that's stable, it's got the teacher in it, they close it and say, thank you so much, have the teacher put in. Side note. But, but doing a guest one is me. Okay. Um, I can do that. Okay. Because that's a campus wide one. And as a site tech, I can do that. But a teacher's not going to be able to put that one in most likely. I or administration. Partner is for outside groups. So like if there are contractors on campus, they might be given their own access to a partner. Okay. Notice student, Chroma or Chrome. Staff is staff. Help desk ticket, partner. Um, if you look at a Chromebook on campus for a child and it doesn't have Chroma, that's a help desk ticket. We have to put that in for that device. It's not going to do anything. They can't get on because for some reason, have I seen that happen? Yes. Can IT fix it relatively quickly? But they're not going to get in. That's a troubleshooting thing, knowing the difference. So Chroma is student, staff is for staff, guest is a help desk ticket when you need open Wi-Fi, and partners for groups outside but who might need it while on campus. Okay. Last but not least, off campus. Okay. There's only so much you can do because you're not there to see it, but things you can offer. Those community hotspots, the situation of students having real issues, at least being able to say, here are places you can go. I showed you at least how to request a hotspot. Some schools are buying their own and then they're handing those out, put them in the catalog. Please don't ever just guarantee unless you know that your school has like enough for every single child, which I'd be shocked, but please just don't say, come get a hotspot. They get very excited. One other thing to make families aware of is Cox to Connect or other programs like this. I put this out there today is September 23rd. So this is a biggie for families because this is, restrictions apply always, but affordable home internet. This was their COVID response. First 2 months free connect to compete service with $9.95 per month thereafter. This is a big thing to push out, maybe get them to make a last minute all call at your school for your families, because I need you to see something. It says for customers who sign up between July 21 and September 30th, 2020, we are offering. Did I say that something may or may not happen in October? No, because I don't know. I know that this is a service that's being offered through September 30th, 2020. Offer expires, blah, blah, blah. They need to be able to, it's not moving for me, but when you go on and look, they do need to meet some criteria. They might need to provide proof of need. Okay, so this doesn't apply to everybody, but this might not be a bad thing to get your administration to remind families of because we're looking at pretty much 1 week from probably today. Okay. If a family could get this compared to a hotspot in the long run, this might be a better solution or a combination. Some families need this, plus they need some hotspots to cover who's doing it. But by all means, please make them aware of this, okay? Cox to Connect, and as we, move along, anything else we can find along those lines. So remember, it might be a situation with the desktop. On campus, you need to be aware of the different types of Wi-Fi. If a Chromebook is not connecting to this one right here, the child's not getting on it. Off campus, we have community hotspots, places they can potentially go, giving them that information for the last month of Cox to Connect and request a hotspot. Okay. This is an example of videos that I do make on my YouTube channel. I'm going to let it play for a few minutes. Looking at my time, by the time it finishes, this might be the end of part one. If for some reason it doesn't play great for you, please remember it's on my YouTube channel. But suggestions for spotty Wi-Fi. Um, Lots of families have Wi-Fi, and then 4 people get on or something of that nature. These are things you might be able to tell a family when they keep saying it's booting me off, it's whatever, and that might even be the server itself. Google went down last week. Google. When the Midwest and the North went back to school, there was a day where Zoom went down. But a lot of times it's the Wi-Fi coming in and out. So here are some things that potentially you could suggest to a family having issues at home. All right. So that one there, I actually said it wrong. That one's the one I made for teachers. So if you and the teacher you're working with want to go through that, it was ditch that textbook, 10 tips to support students with slow Wi-Fi. I made that one. I actually mixed them up, but both needed to be shown. Video here, this is the one for the students, get tips you can give them. And it says internet connectivity solutions. Once again, 10 minutes, so I'm not going to show it through all. right here where it says change a variable of your internet experience. If you want, this is a 10-minute video, so I don't necessarily want to take your time completely, but another good video to watch. Change a variable of your internet experience, like I said, moving their Wi-Fi box, moving the hotspot, moving them closer to it. A lot of them they've got weak Wi-Fi and they're doing it, that's in the kitchen, but they're trying to do their work in their bedroom. That might be what they have to do at home, but if they could change that, that'd be a thing. Connecting to community hotspots. This one says call into the Google Meet. One thing we're not telling the students as much as we should is that a backup in Google Meet and in a lot of programs is they can call in. A child who is having an issue, if they had that phone number, would it be the same? No, they couldn't see what the teacher was presenting. Could they still hear and participate and get attendance? Yes, they could. That is one that your staff and your faculty, especially if you're at a school that's using the same Meet over and over again in their Google Classroom, letting people know the phone number so they can call in. That's a good backup for a teacher. I know a teacher who got booted out and without thinking, she called in and that's how she finished giving her information to her student. Another one is telling them to turn off their video. Okay, I know that's kind of a hot topic sometimes. The video should be on, should be off. But I will say for a child who's having spotty internet, turning off that video, because that Meet is streaming all of those. That will help to lower the bandwidth. Another one down here, if you look at settings, teaching them what quality. This is on 720p. This is on the auto because I filmed it at high definition. Changing it to the standard 480. Will that really change the experience much? Probably not. Will it take up less? Yes. If it wasn't something that had to look at details, they could all the way go down to 144. It'd be fuzzy. But if they weren't having to specifically look, it was mainly like a class discussion, that's fine. Two good websites for you and your faculty that you're working with or within yourselves to watch. How can you support from your side? And then help them on their side. Now, obviously, we're moving into hybrid, but so the needs of the Wi-Fi at the house might get reduced, but there are kids who are going to remain. We're still in hybrid, and then there are going to be kids who remain 100% virtual. Okay, and then of course now they're coming back on campus, and things like that chroma are becoming bigger and bigger. So I'm going to stop at this point because I've done enough talking as far as the situation in the beginning. The next one I do, hopefully I'll be able to do it live for you. We're going to go over issues with like the software and the hardware, etc. But at the end of this one, please recognize some of the big things, okay? That process of helping someone eliminate, even if you don't know the answer, being approachable and going through that reference interview with them, going through and checking one thing at a time. It takes a while sometimes, and the sad thing is if you're in a classroom, you need to fix instantaneously. But the fact of the matter is just randomly scrambling around actually will probably take you longer than checking each thing. Realizing how many things are going into each situation. We talked about the Wi-Fi and the internet connections today. Some of the things, making sure you know which Wi-Fi they should be on. If it's not there, help desk ticket. How to fix desktops, to get the hardline internet. Tips that you can do as a faculty and tips for students at home from both sides, trying to help with that connectivity issue from there. And then giving some backups. Cox Connect to compete, ending at the end of this week. End of this month, September 2020. So I don't know what, if anything, will be available after that. And then helping them find those community hotspots. Okay. Like I said, my name is Erin Anding. My email address is EMURRAY. Please don't forget the A. If you don't put the A, you email someone else at EBRschools.org. Hopefully I'll be back with you guys soon. And we will continue. I really, really appreciate what you're doing for our students and actually what you're doing to help your faculty, your librarians, and your site techs. We truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.